Welcome to our conference today. I am really excited to bring you Dr. Ray James as one of our featured speakers. Ray is an organic chemist, nutritional supplement product developer, researcher, educator, biostimulant formulator from natural plant sources, and an author and speaker. With over 28 years in the pharmaceutical industry and at the FDA, he has over 30 patents and peer-reviewed scientific publications combined. He is also the author of the children's nutrition book, Veggie Rhapsody, I Want You in My Lunch, published in 2013. In his past career as a lead investigator at Pharmacopoeia, Ligand Pharmaceuticals, and a principal scientist at Intrexon Corporation, from 1998 until 2015, Ray was involved in designing drugs for cancer and inflammation and presented his many discoveries at national scientific meetings. From 2015 to 2017, he was a fellow at the US government's premier oversight organization, the Food and Drug Administration, where he reviewed and approved or disapproved all facets of new and existing drug applications. He quit all the farce to pursue his lifetime dream of being on Earth and serving the soil and humanity. Today, Ray is a partner founder of the Moringa Group, LLC, Gleeful Monkey LLC, TMG Omega Limited, Soil Biotica LLC, and Kissing Tadpoles Publishing Company. He is also a husband, father, and backyard organic farmer. So I think hearing that bio, everyone can understand why I wanted Ray to be part of this conference. And I will mention that Ray has also been interviewed by me on the Humans and Earth podcast. We're going to focus primarily today on all the regenerative things that Ray is building, but you can tune into that podcast episode on Humans and Earth if you want to hear a little bit more about his very interesting life story. So, Ray, I think your life exemplifies one of the pathways to shifting from a conventional career to building something that a lot of people would say is a new earth endeavor, healing and regenerative and collaborative. So please tell us what you're working on.
Okay, so thank you, Shara. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about maybe just a tiny bit of what I'm working on right now, which will encompass and focus on the Moringa plant. All my work since about 5 years ago, since I quit the FDA, has been focused on the Moringa plant, which started as a nutritional endeavor and have since moved into a plant or agricultural endeavor. And basically that's how I started in life. And it seems like where I'm ending up. So today it'll be mostly focused on the agricultural endeavor and how that has been, I guess, making other people's lives better and how it will make the soil better, the environment better, and just speaking of regenerative science and applications, how the Moringa plant is one of the best things that could have been discovered for this kind of use. So I will be focusing on that story today. So basically, as a start, my uses of the Moringa plant started at an early age as a toddler, when I remembered having stomach aches and getting it as a tea. And throughout that time, from age of remembrance to age 17, I never had to go to the doctor because there was a plant in our environment in the countryside that we could just use to basically heal yourself from all kinds of things, burns, whatever. So I realized at about age 6 that I was scientifically inclined. And I was one of those that took the radio apart and had a number of screws left over. When I learned about batteries, I was making batteries. I was doing galvanization through batteries. So that science part of me started at an early age. And once I got the opportunity to come to the States, and I must say I'm from Jamaica, so I'm from the countryside of Jamaica, and got the opportunity to come here about 60 at the age of 16 and a half, my first time to the doctor, where they had to take all those kind of make sure that I was okay to fly on a plane, I suppose, without a heart attack. Anyway, I realized at that time I was excelling in school in science and math and all those things. And I was also growing a lot of plants. And I never stopped growing plants when I got here. But I also recognized that once here, I could use that science knowledge in order to get my doctorate and get back to Jamaica, find out about all these phytonutrients in the plants and the medicinal uses. And the best way to do that was through the pharmaceutical industry and study organic chemistry. So I got into that. And finally, I just forgot my mission, and there was a lot of money to be made. So basically, I was in tune with just going along and making the money and working for others and giving them all the great ideas that I was coming up with to create new entities that humans could consume. And I now know that that wasn't the path. And my real path was within getting back to Jamaica and making contributions in the economy and in the health of people there. So just thinking about Jamaica as a third world country and knowing that about 10, 11 years ago, I reunited with Moringa and its uses. My whole family takes it every day, smoothies, in our sauces, everything. And we formed a company to supply nutritional entities of Moringa, powder, teas, all of these things that were helping my family, as well as the testimonials from people that came in from just the use of these products and how that helped them. And so about 5 years ago, we started the Moringa Group, which is a nutritional company. But in the back of my mind, there was always, what else could we be doing? And there was a small 2 lines that I found while researching some Moringa that the scientist and agronomist Nicholas Fodel had done an experiment using the juice, the plant juice of Moringa. And he used it on like 3 different crops. And the crops grew larger, more bountiful. They didn't have the stresses. And in that two lines, they also mentioned that basically there was no way to commercialize it because it was so stinky after 16 hours. And so in going through all my experience, and I think all the experiences that I've had in science just clicked in my brain, and I said, oh, I could do that. So I went to my partners and I said, hey, we should test this stuff and let's make it stable and let's make it so that we can get it in a bottle organically with the least amount or with no toxic ingredients. And let's expand that, our nutrition for humans, using the Moringa plant to do nutrition for plants, which will then make a big circle back into animals and humans. And we started our kitchen experiments. Well, I started the kitchen experiments and just, growing things in the backyard and giving bottles to my neighbors and friends and spraying my neighbors' flowers in their garden. And they're like, oh, where can we buy this? And we knew we had something there. And it just proliferated from that. So two roads start to collide at that point. Where are we going to find the land, enough land to grow enough moringa and have it grown all year round? We're looking here in Florida, where I live now, and basically we saw a press release from the Jamaican government that they're investing billions of dollars into agriculture. Agriculture in itself in Jamaica is one of the biggest industries because we do not have that much. And the sugarcane industry, which was huge in Jamaica, people were moving away from sugar, and all the people that were employed on those sugar plantations were basically jobless. And so I saw this opportunity, and two of my partners actually were, their father and their family was pretty much close enough as neighbors with the Jamaican government and sons of the Jamaican government. They went to school with them, and we put in a proposal, and they gladly accepted it. And they asked us, how much land do we need? And basically TMGO, which is TMG, the Moringa group, and Omega, which is a Jamaican company, came together, and we formed TMG Omega Limited.
Okay.
And so this has been going for 5 years. And what we've done so far is everything that has been accomplished has been through the use of our bootstrap funds. So we have about 12 acres rowed up, and this, in terms of sustainability, we will only plow the land once. And that is in order to get rid of the sugarcane that's there. The sugarcane that's on the land right now, we use as fodder, as feed for the local population that have animals. So they can come on to the field. So we just did 12 acres. And for that 12 acres, they came onto the fields with cutlasses and our machetes, and they just chopped and took the greenage to their animals, and they're able to feed their animals from that. And when we decide to clear some other parts, that's what we will keep doing. So as TMGO, we've created a biostimulant. And I suppose I have to step back, because a biostimulant, in definition, is not a fertilizer. It basically, it could be root fed to the plant, or it could be foliar sprayed onto the plant. Mm-hmm. And what it does, it helps the plant to reduce stress. It augments the growing cycle of the plant. However, it's not a nutrient-dense feed that you can just give to the plants. This biostimulant, when applied with the correct good agronomical practices, then your plant blooms more, grows more foliar, more flowers for longer. The uptake of nutrients is just off the charts. You'll get more nutritional fruits, more nutrition in the foliage. Whatever part of the plant that you're going to eat or use, you will have more of. In the cannabis industry, and they see more terpenes and more bigger buds and stronger plants and those are just a few examples of like the tests. They can be used in greenhouses as spray. You only need about 1 to 4 parts per billion on a leaf for it to activate the machinery of the leaf to make it work more efficiently in order to get to these levels of less stress for the plant or more nutrient uptake and stuff like that. So for example, we've tested in some areas when it was arid. They had a drought in California, and they tested it on some avocado trees out there that weren't fruiting for 2 years. And basically, after they tested the biostimulant on that field, they're able to get fruits, a whole crop of avocados off those trees. And just to level set all of that information, when there's a drought condition, the first things the plant starts doing when it's flowering is that it loses its flower, and it will start losing its leaves if it doesn't get water. So when you spray the biostimulant made from the Moringa group, when you spray that onto the leaves of these plants, what happens is that it reduces that stress. Whatever small amounts of water and nutrients that it can pick up, the plant starts to do that instead of going into that state of being shocked from not being given enough water. And thus you can have flowers, you can have foliage, and you can have fruit. So you don't have to have that happen during a drought. As long as those plants can get the small amount of water that they need, they will use it more efficiently than if you were just giving them NPK and watching them like suffer. So that's just one example. So basically, this agricultural thing has ballooned now to where the entire government of Jamaica is in that scope of what we're doing. We're allowed now to put the Jamaican flag as a flagship product coming out of Jamaica. It will be put on our labels and sent to other countries.
Wow.
The people around our current grow, so far we've employed about 90 families on the 12 acres, or at least one person from a family on those 12 acres. They were able to get, instead of about $3.50 US to $4, they were getting double that in salary. And this is right now without any infusion from any investor or any bank. So we've just been doing this all along to this stage before, and we're just starting to entertain some kind of the banks and the investors to come in to move us along, because to date right now, we have about 15,000 seedlings in the ground. Over the next 2.5 to 3 years, we'll have 120 to 130 million Moringa trees growing in an intense growth. So you can see that there's going to be a huge escalation of effort. There's going to be a huge escalation of people that we will need. We will also be co-oping with the local population. There will be local people living on the land and living off the land, and they will have plots where they can grow their own. And we will buy their fodder grown in the way that we need it to be grown, which is organically, using organic based compost and inoculations to actually multiply the biodiversity and to create atmospheres that you can grow in the soil the correct plant when you need to, by just changing what kind of compost you use, what kind of mixtures. Is it fungal? Is it bacterial? Is it a mixture of both? So this will be part of an extension of TMGO, working with the Jamaican government, as long as university grad students and also high school students, to teach them alternative ways to clean up the water, clean up the environment using compost and recycled material. So to summarize all that, we have diverse uses of moringa. We have the nutritional, which can be given to animals as well as humans, and as well as plants now. So we have 3 areas where moringa can be used. This plant is also useful in, and this is further out, we were talking to a couple companies that does anaerobic digestion. And what that does is produce natural gas, such as methane and ethanol. Moringa plant material, after we've taken out the juice, that plant material, whether we intend to compost it, which then is recycled into an animal feed coupled with some other entity of nutrition for animals, or whether we go to anaerobic digestion of that material, all parts of the plant will be used to do something. So we want to make sure that the population have jobs, that they can take care of their families. We want to teach them how to grow things, not only moringa, but all kinds of different plants along the spectrum of growth, using the life in the soil and using recyclable materials that will enhance their growth, lessen disease, less carbon in the atmosphere, sequestering carbon, which is a big one, and just having cover crops. And we're going to be studying that action of what kinds of cover crops they need to grow in that environment in order to fulfill and make farming as productive without the avid pest when you use NPKs and fungicide, herbicides, which kills everything. So those are some of the practices that we're getting into right now. And basically, all of that together, if that wasn't like a huge job in itself, we've also started to think about like how we're going to collect payments with these new payment methods, and that are energetically less severe on the environment. We're looking at a couple solutions using this new blockchain, and we're trying to partner with that new XANGE. If no one has heard of that, it's a platform that has just been established by the United Nations in order to monitor more accurately carbon and how that is dispensed. So it's going to be like a tokenized carbon by the trees and how much they actually sequester in tonnage per year. So 1 ton of carbon sequestered by 1 tree will be 1 carbon token. And that, for those irresponsible people that are not yet, or companies that are not yet getting into regeneration or getting into using less energy, they're able to go on the market. I don't totally agree with this, but they're able to go on the market. They're able to spend millions of dollars buying these tokens. And but with a caveat. They have to promise that they will start investing in planting trees and doing sustainable and regenerative projects around on the planet Earth, though once they start participating. So most of the big companies are already on this exange.com. They've signed up with the United Nations, and they've taken the oath to reduce their carbon footprint on the planet. So we're getting into that because we're going to have that 120 million trees. And of course, at a certain stage of growth, these trees are the tops of them are going to be harvested. Mm-hmm. So we have to come up with an equation in order to figure out at this stage where they don't have their leaves. And I should say that on the farm, there will be also an orchard with about 20 million trees. So there's going to be an orchard. So those will not be cut. They will just be there for seeding. So we will not be importing any seeds from anywhere. The seeds that are going to be going into the ground that are going to be used for oil or for cooking or vegetables will be grown right there. As far as we will have a biodiesel tractor to start out, and we're going to be using electricity. So a lot of our carbon footprint on the production side, we'll have to minus that from the number of trees that we've grown. And basically, some of the uses of the Moringa tree will also be allocated to planting on hillsides that have lots of erosion. They grow from seedling to about 6 feet it depends on the weather, but ideal conditions in Jamaica, in about 6 weeks, you could have a plant that's 6 feet in height.
Really?
So you cut that tree in order to, it's like bamboo grass, yes.
Yeah.
So it won't take long for us to, well, it's already started, and here we are. We are there. We've done everything that we can from our own bootstrapped way, and we're looking basically for partners that will see this thing through. Basically, the government is also providing salespeople, marketing people. They have farmers. They also are going to sequester some of the juice that we produce in their own research and development for commercial purposes. So this business of regeneration and using the Moringa tree in so many different ways is just like exploding. And every day I'm thinking of a new idea of how that can be implemented. So that's the story of that so far. Any questions?
Wow. Well, I mean, I have a whole bunch of questions about this plant, but I'm a real plant lover. I'm going to leave those aside to focus on the big ideas here. I mean, this is amazing. I see again in talking to you why people call the Moringa the miracle tree, because yes. I mean, its capacity to nourish people, animals, other plants, the soil.
Yes.
This is like a higher being, this tree. It's completely amazing. And last time I talked to you, these trees were not yet planted and we didn't talk about the biostimulant. So my mind is just popping. And I guess one of the things I'm thinking is, isn't it amazing and wonderful that you took the leap out of your conventional career, which was not a bad thing to be doing, but you know, when one is in an industrial setting, one is told what to work on. I mean, the explosion of your creativity is really amazing me. And that's just extraordinary. And I'm in awe of how much creative freedom you're actually expressing through this work.
Thank you. Thank you. it's been a journey. It's been an arduous journey. It's sometimes up, sometimes down, but, and I shouldn't say but, and overall, this journey has been one of the most fulfilling things that I've done so far in my life. And there's so much more to come out of this, because just seeing the people's faces when they can work. And one more thing I was going to say is that a lot of these families that are around this field will be allocated a very small percent. It's a very small percent, but as we grow, and this company is projected to grow, so they're going to be owners. If they're not co-oping, they're going to be on working for us. They're going to get a percentage of the company. It's going to be community. And that percentage will grow over time. So they're going to be a part of this company, and they're going to be reaping the benefits. You know, so if they decide to leave, whatever that percentage is grown to, and the company is $1 billion company, whatever that company is, that percentage is, they will be able to get that out.
Wow.
And that's a pledge that, you know, I make to myself, and we've made to this company. So they're also going to benefit a lot of it when we basically figure out the carbon tokenization and footprint of this. I think, I don't want to quote, I think it's 60% will go back into the community just from the token part of it, because they have planted the trees, they have worked on it. And so we're intending on doing scholarships, you know, community centers, some library, you know, like whatever we can to build up the community around where we start at first and then proliferate out. So those are the plans that we have. There's more to it, and a lot of it still needs to be ironed out. So the white paper for the tokenization started last week, actually.
Okay.
And those ideas are just flowing. It's expensive, and I guess if it wasn't scary, it wouldn't be good.
Yeah, Ray, I'm so inspired because I'm like the farthest thing from an economist, but from where I stand, capitalism needs to grow into its next stage. It needs to grow into a stage where it is not harming people and it's not harming the planet. And what you just sketched out sounds to me like one of the next stages of capitalism. And it sounds like an approach that potentially could solve poverty, because of course, the way we do things in most of the world is that the people who are actually working, whether it's in industry or in the soil, are getting the least profit. It's completely egregious. You can look at so many industries: coffee, tea, chocolate, manufacturing. And if you can create a model where the workers are actually sharing in the profits, that in itself is going to be so extraordinary.
And I think it's, I don't like the word sustainability. However, I think that this makes for a sustainable and balanced, each side of that equation is balanced, you know? You know, one side is not top heavy, and then the other side equals zero. You know, you want the equal weight is on both sides, and you will have more dedicated people, partners, that will be not even working, but they're basically contributing to their own wealth and benefit. And they will come happily. You can't make 100% of them happy, but they will come happily to engage in something that's partly theirs. And that's how we feel about that. They
That
won't be
is so
moving
beautiful.
on, to other
Yeah, and
farms or something.
that's oneness and unity,
Yeah.
because in this beautiful endeavor you're creating, the earth is cared for, the plants are cared for, the soil is cared for. You're creating safe habitats for birds and insects and
Oh,
other
yeah.
creatures. The workers are safe and nourished and
Aye.
financially profiting, maybe
Aye.
intellectually and emotionally
Sure.
benefiting. And this is like a true unity and inclusiveness. Wow.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
so excited.
Yes, I'm overly joyed. Like I stay up sometimes and I'm tired. I've read so much or typed so much, but then I say to myself, it's worth it, just seeing those plants grow up and the business start to take off and the interests from others. And I just feel gratitude to that, it's just,
And what
yeah,
a full circle. I mean, that you grew
yeah.
up in Jamaica in very simple circumstances, becoming a scientist as a child and growing plants and being nourished by plants from childhood. And now you're making a return to the country
Yes.
and the people. I mean,
I
what could be more wonderful?
It's a great story,
Yeah,
and
it really is.
all of it is for uh we need to have some like the kids, and we need to teach and make sure that people will basically stick to this equation, stick to this blueprint, and improve it over time. Get more people and spread it over the Caribbean, get it into the states, get it into places. I think it's a blueprint that communities can use even in the third world, where they other places, such as even in other Caribbean islands, where you're taught to just do things by yourself
Yeah.
in modern times, and that you can do it on your own. But I think if people pull together, they can basically accomplish anything they want. Instead of having, $300 US per year, if 10 people get together, that's 3,000, and they can come up with some way. And I truly believe that Moringa can be, the Moringa plant and its multiple uses can be a pathway to having communities that are sustainable and fully nourished and with clean water and running water, electricity, all these like amenities that we all deserve in order to live and fulfill our existence on this planet. So
Yeah, I was wondering, as you talked about a place like Haiti, which
yeah,
probably has struggled
Mhm.
maybe even significantly more than Jamaica, and
Sure.
would that be the type of setting
Yes.
where you also could replicate this?
Yes, and yes. It could be like what we're thinking about is Jamaica first, and and implementing that across the Caribbean. We've been able to be quite lucky to meet the right people at the right times, and not everyone is as lucky as we are, and we're blessed in that sense. And we want to extend this to other, maybe hate. I haven't thought of like making Haiti the next place that we could actually implement and grow and have those guys be a part of a community that would just be supplying and helping the land to rejuvenate and creating some kind of monetary, nutritional kind of entity that could help people in a broad scope kind of way. But because this plant grows so quickly, and it's so nutritious, instead of the, some people not going hungry, we could have at least in that, a place of just a whole blanket piece of land where people can just go pick freely and improve their nutrition. That's the first part of it. So yeah, there's so much swirling in my head right now, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And it's, I've been hyper focused on Jamaica and getting the communities around there, the clothes drives and the canned foods and all these things that we're trying to do that. And of course, growing this TMGO business that, I haven't really given it a deep thought of where next. Yeah,
it's
So.
not quite time to do much more than just sort of. So there's a whole bunch of stuff I'd like to ask you, but a couple of questions are rising to the top for me. Was it hard for you to make this leap a few years ago? I mean, you left a secure, respectable career pathway in the pharmaceutical industry. You had moved to the FDA. I wonder if some of our listeners who are going to hear this talk are going to be curious. If we're going to talk about dimensions of consciousness,
sure,
you really went from 3D up. Was it hard to make that leap?
I'd say when I did make that leap, I had come to a level of understanding, and I had been coming into my own thoughts about the rat race and creativity and about my life not being my own. I was having a hard time balancing the drugs that I was producing with the toxic effects on people, the environment, and being in the FDA. I before I got to the FDA, I was like, yes, I'm helping everybody. Oh, I'm making all these drugs. I'm curing cancer. Well, I've never cured anything. Blood pressure, all these things that the body usually are able to use as adaptive measures to tell you something is going on. I was trying to suppress those things and I realized this when I looked at some of the approvals that were happening. And, I don't know if they'll sue me or come after me, but were happening at this institution that was at the highest level. There were some things that I saw that I didn't agree with. So my work ethic basically went down, and I couldn't do my job once I realized where I was and what I was doing and what the processes were for companies that were outside of the testing protocols or other protocols and how we would handle that. So it took 6 weeks from me realizing the efforts I was putting into this organization
Mhm.
and what and trying to balance what I was getting out of it and how much of a fraud I felt like. And I got really sick by week number 6.
Yeah.
I was like way behind on my work and I couldn't function. I would just sit in front of the screen. So by that, the Friday that I quit, that week following up, there was a huge event with one of my best friends who's now a partner with me in the Moringa group, as well as TMG Omega. I stumbled down the stairs. He didn't know he had diabetes. I sent him some Moringa. By the end of the week, his blood sugar had gone from 325 to about 80. And I was quitting that Friday. And he, of course, with the blessings of my wife, she's like, yeah, you need to get out. So she was fully supportive. So those two things converged. By Thursday, he had already made a website for the Moringa group because it had helped him so much with his blood sugar. And he hasn't taken metformin, which is a drug that you give to diabetics for life, because they really don't test you after that. They're just like, oh, your blood sugar, but you're never healing and you have to take it for life. Most people, if you don't change your diet. So we converged. That Friday I quit. And that Thursday he made a website. And then I called him on Friday and he's like, I made a website for the Moringa because we have to get this out. And I said, yeah, I just quit my job. He's like, well, come on down to Florida and start the Moringa group. So by then I'd come to that point, that decision that, and it wasn't difficult. If you had told me basically a week prior to that, I think part of my sickness was basically because I knew if I quit that I would be putting my family in jeopardy because there would be one less income. And you have to mull all of these decisions in your mind.
Oh, I know.
And then my wife said, we have enough to get through this. I think you should. She agreed, and we made that decision together. So within 6 weeks, we sold our house up there and moved to Florida and got another place. So it's been 5 years since then. I haven't gotten a salary from anything I've been doing. It's all been bootstrapping and forming these other companies like Soul Biotica, which the website isn't even finished on that because I'm focused on TMGO, and TMGO, which is the agricultural part, and the Moringa group, and they're still going. So it's a leap of faith. It's definitely a leap of faith. And the ideas that you have into making one company and making, you're going, oh, this is going to be so successful all at once. Well, what we found is that we had to teach everyone about Moringa. It wasn't something that people were like taking off the shelf. So 5 years later, Moringa is like a mainstay. Lipton is having it in their teas, and this guys are having, of course, when you think about quality as a smaller shop, I think our stuff is like have more love and more quality, and we're more in tune with our customers. They can call me at any time and get me, and I'll talk to them about the uses and how they should use it and what kind of ideas I have to make it taste a little bit better if you have a taste version. So yeah, that was a big leap of faith, and it's a huge hill to climb, and you don't have to be mentally steely, but I would say that you just have to keep thinking and doing things in a positive way to make that dream that you're walking towards, which already happened, and you're just going towards it. So you just have that faith, knowing that everyone you meet and every place you go to and every government agent you talk to, they're in line with what your vision is. If not, it's still a learning experience and you just go through it. So that's what I've learned. And that might have started like 6 years before to that revelation where I could quit.
Yeah, you were prepared. There's one more piece of that I want to ask you about a little bit more, but I want to highlight that I think it was really an extraordinary choice point that you didn't do the conventional thing when you went into crisis at your job. What a lot of people, I think, are doing is, instead of recognizing that their inner wisdom is creating resistance and upset and
Sure.
mental or physical problems for a good reason, they end up on antidepressants or
Sure.
something, right?
Yes.
Which, whether you have physical or mental symptoms, you're probably
Sure.
going to be offered antidepressants. And
Sure.
I'm not saying that that's a wrong path to take, but one of the many things that stands out to me in your story is, instead of suppressing the pain that you were experiencing,
Yes.
the lack of harmony, the dissonance,
Yes.
the inner crisis, you actually took action. And
Yeah.
if more of us can learn to do that,
Sure.
we will heal our broken systems.
Aye.
Because there are a lot of people in healthcare, in government, in education, in industry, whose human wisdom is telling them
Sure.
something's not quite right here with
Yes.
what I'm doing. But a lot of us are afraid to make that brave, radical, hopeful change.
Sure.
And you did it instead of suppressing. And I just wanted to highlight that, because I think you are an example there of what a lot more people need to explore.
Thank you. I'm able to sit back and listen to you and just say thanks. I used to deny that of myself when someone would say some things like that. So I've grown a lot. I've read a lot. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of influencers, and I've done meditation. Of course, nutrition is a big part of that. And basically, my parents and my grandparents were stuck in certain ways, and they impart that fear, which I absorbed.
Yes.
And I'm not blaming them for
No,
that,
but
because
this
they
is
were
true
taught
for
that.
almost everyone.
Everyone
And
on earth, yes.
I appreciate that you are naming it.
Right. And so what might have been scary for me, 12 years ago, is no longer so, because I've been able to do some resets in how I think about things, and knowing that whatever I'm going to be working on is going to come to fruition. And if it's not in my perceived way that I envision it, if I look at that negative, what I term a negative outcome, I can learn from that and say, oh, that's why, and pivot to the next direction. So I've become a little bit more agile, but it does take some work, just like building a muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that you named the inherited fears.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate that for all kinds of personal reasons and reasons having to do with this event. But one of the underlying assumptions of this conference is that there's really good reason to believe that humanity is at a tipping point.
Yes.
Of ascension or vibrational or dimensional shift. There are different names for it. And one of the core aspects of that is exactly what you just talked about, seeing the older, more fear-based or self-critical or self-limiting paradigms,
Sure.
recognizing them for what they are with compassion and choosing otherwise.
I know.
It's big. More and more people are doing it. You're not alone. But I mean, that was, again, one of the many reasons I really wanted to interview you, is we just have to keep talking about
Yes.
these inner shifts, because I think more and more people are really catching on.
Yes,
and
they are.
It's exciting because we're freeing ourselves to be
Yes.
more loving, more creative, more liberated, and our higher version of Homo sapiens.
I totally agree. Just the extent of knowledge and the amount of people that are willing to stick a neck out or a finger nail or something, or just running into that right person, that right person that you need right then, has been like just opening up myself to this journey. It's been so revealing in that sense. It's like, this was so hard, but then I ask for a solution and it's right there. Mm. So I've brought that community, and we've brought that community into our community in making of our company, the newest company. And I just have such pride in the fact that there's so many novel things that we are implementing and doing in the human sense, I would say from the ground up. Mm. So, you mentioned about, how capitalism have forsaken us. But like, if you akin like what we've done to like our growing media, the soil, it's kind of like just extracting everything out and expecting everything to be all right with human health and wellness. We've done that the same way with a company going into a place and extracting all the resources out, not paying their humans, their workers, and just extracting that human energy and element out of there. And when that part is done, they just left, just like that. So the same thing is happening in different cycles in the soil, money, housing. It's just like
human health.
Yes, the human health, all animal health. All of it is just in the same cycle. And it takes only a few of us to get out of there, to get us all out.
Yes.
So we're coming to that critical mass where people are waking up, like you said, and I am part of that.
Yes.
You are part of that.
Love that you said that. Yes.
My family is part of that,
Yes.
So I like that we're coming together. And of course, we're building this company, and, yes, it's for profit, and we're doing all the things that we can think about to make it into something regenerative in the sense of money, soil, air, water, fuel, what else? Space. You think about it, we'll be making those ripples all throughout, all throughout, from the ground on up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we are transitioning from degenerative ways
Yes.
of being on this planet to regenerative ones. And
definitely.
You're doing it.
We are doing it.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't leave yourself out now.
No. What a treat to get to talk to you, Ray. I'm so happy this worked out. Tell us where people can find your products. I want to attest, I think they're amazing. I told you last time I interviewed you that I have a favorite herbal supply company here in the US, very high quality.
Yes,
And I really love and trust their products. But the
sure.
Moringa powder I got from them was beige.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
just thought,
whoa.
that, I mean, yeah, maybe that I should check how long I've had it. But, then I got your Moringa tea and it's like bright emerald green. I mean, not so much the tea
Yes.
itself, it's green, but the tea leaves in the bag are bright emerald
I.
green. And I thought, okay, this is Moringa.
That's the
So
way Moringa should be.
yeah, yeah. So tell people where they can find what you're offering.
So our products are on the moringagroup.com. And of course, my personal number is on the website. So if you call, you will get me. If I don't
Wow.
answer, I'm busy. But I will call you back. And if you need any kind of paperwork, any kind of research, I usually send it within a day or two because I have so many things on my computer. My other website is tmgomega.com,
Okay.
which has recently been changed to AgroVigor, which AgroVigor, AgroVigor.com.
Like it.
And
Nice.
that is the name of the product, the biostimulant product that we use on so many places. So many farmers are just like, come on, man. Can I just have some?
Yeah.
You want me to tell you a quick story about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a thyme grower in Jamaica. They were going through a drought. So he had 4 acres of thyme. We had brought down some samples to Jamaica, and in that area, there are different crops, but a few of the farmers that are neighbors, they all grow thyme. He's the only one that it was lucky enough to get 2 8-ounce bottles of the biostimulant. So we told him how to use it. And of course, it's on the label. So we were like, use it, mix it in this quantity. Instead of doing it that way, he mixed it so dilute. However, he could only spread it on a quarter of his time. He has 4 acres, so that on 1/8. So 1/8 to get like the 3 sprays that he would need to bring his crop and to compare. They had this drought, and the rest of his farm went poof. And the 1/8 of his field that he sprayed the biostimulant on, he had so much time. It basically gave him 4 acres of time on that 1/8. And his time came in way earlier than it would have come in at the other, if he had not sprayed any biostimulant on it. And they were like, so I have pictures of these things, or these guys, and they sent me videos of them going through the fields, talking in Jamaican about, man, look at them time. Like, oh my God. It was just so awesome. So he's one of those guys that now can just plant 1/8 of his field to get the amount that he would have planted on 4 acres, right? And he can use the land for something else. So he's just diversified his field.
Now we need to go talk for several days about feeding the world.
We're
not going to do that,
yes.
but
Yes.
Wow. I mean,
yes.
To grow healthy plants in concentration like that, when we're having global concerns about population growth and less agricultural land available.
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
And that's a good story to end it on. If you want to talk to me some more, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, we should close so that people find that this is an accessible length for listening, but I could talk to you for hours, Ray, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
I'm sorry to have like closed out like that.
No,
I should
it
have
was
just let you.
perfect.
Yeah.
No, it was absolutely perfect. And that was a great story to end on.
We have a lot of stories like that, actually.
Wonderful. Well, we'll talk again.
Yes. I will be more communicative. I will reach out to you more often, see how you're doing.
Let's do it.
I'm embroiled in a lot of things, and things just go out of from within the center of my brain through my ears.
Yeah.
I have to start writing things. Well, I started writing things down and organizing my desktop and stuff like that for this year. So that's the first part of this year is what I'm doing.
It sounds like you need a team of assistants.
I do.
Well, thank you again, Ray. And let's hold the intention that all
Yes.
the support that you need for these endeavors is
Yes.
flowing to you in
Yes.
magnitudes.
It is. I accept them. I thank the universe, God, whatever all of you guys worship. I'm thanking.